The Falls Count Everywhere podcast would like to mention our friends at the following. We Talk Wrestling. For the one-stop you need for the most intriguing stories and headlines, and info on independent shows in multiple regions, We Talk Wrestling has you covered. Subscribe to Facebook's #1 interactive community for professional wrestling today. Pro wrestling on Tuesdays are a blast with the Wrestle Talk podcast. Join the Night Owl, DJ Big Sexy, Luke Roberts, The Alpha, Jay Wade, Nightmare Jones, and many others as they bring you the hottest takes on the major circuits, showcase interviews with various indie stars, and the only place to get news on the most popular fantasy wrestling promotion, the FWWC. Catch them every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central. Find all of their media outlets on their website at WrestleTalkPodcast.com.
Before each and every show, we like to remind our audience that freedom is never free, and all of us should be grateful to those who lay it all on the line. To all our first responders, military, and volunteers that help our nation every day, we love you and appreciate the sacrifices you make to protect all of us.
Get ready for episode number 130, one of the Falls Count Everywhere podcasts, as we welcome longtime professional wrestling enthusiast, author, and sports writer covering the pro leagues around the St. Louis metropolitan area, the good Dr. Jeremy Housewright. This podcast is scheduled for one episode, where falls count everywhere.
And good evening, everybody. It is very, very cold outside, but we're going to heat it up with the Sunday night party. No, not that, damn it.
I mean,
I had to botch.
We are solid gold.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, that's later. I may have to switch the other thing.
Watch. It won't play when he does the memes this time.
But it is episode number 131 of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Of course, I am Rough Cut Rick Ruby here to your top left. And, of course, the bottom, we got GQ. And, of course, to the top right, we got the Gem City Mouse Zmiz. And we are all trying to keep warm here in the Midwest.
I'm in California again, so I'm fine.
Well, you know, they've got, like, what, I don't know, 50-degree weather. I don't know. California needs to fall.
I mean, it's cold.
He's drinking poop water.
If he's in San Francisco, more than likely. So
no, they really just passed a law about how they're going to recycle sewage water for drinking water in like California.
Oh, okay,
guys.
I mean, that stuff already goes through the faucets in Illinois. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I was raised on hose water, so I mean, that's HOSE. Hose.
Oh, okay.
That is HOSE.
You went there, I'm just saying.
On a good spring day, sure, why not turn it on as long as it's not too hot? But man, I've done that before.
Burn your lips? Oh, god dang.
Such an idiot.
Right now in the Midwest and everything, and you got like a machine gun spurting out icicle bullets, you know?
It's cold.
Yeah, it is cold, but shoot. Yeah, so, I mean, not a lot that we've got a lot to talk about here tonight, of course, with our featured guest is Dr. Jeremy Housewright, who is released a book a couple months ago, For the Love of the Show. We're going to get into that. And plus, also, he's a longtime sports writer and also even longer time professional wrestling enthusiast. And we're going to get into more about.
In other words, he's gonna make us look really amateur compared to him. So,
hey, you never know. I mean,
Speak for yourself.
What have I been in and out of the business? 28 years? I mean, it's not like I don't know anything about the business myself. I mean, sure. I mean, he's been making efforts to do other things to go more into the big circuits.
I'm talking about he makes us look not as smart because he can write. So,
I mean, I'm not very good at penmanship.
I don't know if I should be to that or not, because what the hell do I work on every freaking week?
These notes are beautifully written, Ruby.
It's cut and paste is what it is.
Oh, man. Tick! Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, show something real quick. I got something to show real quick if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Where was it again? Here we go.
Oh, God.
If you guys want to figure out and you keep not wanting to type in the stuff, we have an easy way now to show our links. Right here, we have a link tree. There's no OF on it. So,
Oh. Well, I mean,
this has everything from Kick to Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Facebook, of course. Just everything, all our links combined right there, except for the shirt one, which I forgot about, so I need to put that on there. So,
well, don't put that one in there because Etsy is not been really doing very well with communicating with me, and plus we're just going to try to find another way to market those. Try getting into the market with our other merchandise here. So yeah, but yeah, you can find us all right there. And if you've not done so, like I said, we've been around for a good while. If you've not done so, and if you have an account for every platform, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, or Twitter formerly, make sure you're going to those sites and making sure that you are following all of our pages. And do you know, is our TikTok and Instagram on there as well?
TikTok. Give me 1 second. Let me scroll down real quick. TikTok is. Instagram did not get on there yet, so I need to put that on there.
That's okay. That's all right. And like I said, we will get there. And we will get there. And of course, like I said, that's the most important thing here. We're going to talk about some other things that's happened here on SmackDown this past week. Of course, also with Raw. Kind of get our takes on that. But like I said, I want to save pretty much all of this tonight until our guest comes on here because, they pretty much, this is what they've done. So, but yeah, we're gonna just kind of save for that. And of course, anybody with questions or comments, making sure you're getting into our chat so we can actually see it. So we can actually, you got a question for our guest whenever you come on. Let's go ahead and do that.
And so we know who you are.
Right. So if you don't know who you are, we start seeing this Facebook user, once again, chat.restream.io/FB. And that will get you to where, okay, yes, Zuckerberg, could you please show my name, please, for the upteenth millionth time, or every time I come onto this freaking live event. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, you tell him to go duck himself.
Lord. And then, of course, we can't complain to Mother Zucker, so, because it's not going to do anything. So, but either way, before we get into all the good stuff here tonight, we're going to go ahead and we just take about a few minutes. If you've not gotten something to drink, make sure you're getting that here. Don't leave the chat. Don't leave the feed. We're going to be showing our upcoming promotions video here. This should take about 3 minutes. And then we will be right back here with our featured guest of the evening. So sit tight. We'll be right back, guys.
Check out these great shows and appearances coming to a city near you. Saturday, January 20th, New Genesis Wrestling returns to the Lou Civic Center as they present Next Level. Your main event features Chris Cade of the Executive Order defending the NGW Heavyweight Championship against the Freak, Pretty Boy Floyd, in a Freak Show Funhouse match. Doors open at 6 p.m. and bell time is at 7 p.m. Ticket prices are $10 for adults and $5 for kids. To get tickets in advance, visit ngw.ticketleap.com. Friday, January 26th, St. Louis Anarchy presents their annual Gateway to Anarchy show at the House of Anarchy located at 405 East 4th Street in Alton, Illinois. Pre-event party is at 6 p.m. and main show starts at 7 p.m. Scheduled to be in action are Gary J., Shotza McKenzie, and Gateway Heritage Champion Derek Neal. For ticket pricing and availability, visit St. Louis Anarchy WrestlingAnarchy.com. Saturday, January 27th, American Championship Wrestling returns to the VFW Post 2184 in Melville, Missouri for their first show of the year. Your main event is a three-way dance for the ACW Heavyweight Championship as the Real Boss Xavier Frost defends the title against Marvelous Mark Morgan and the Night Train Gary Jackson. Doors open at 5 p.m. with a bell time of 6 p.m. Front row seats are $10. All other tickets are $6. Get your tickets at the door or get them in advance by going to acwtheshow.com. Saturday, January 27th, IWA Productions returns to the IWA Event Center located at 521 Perkins Street in Mount Vernon, Illinois, as they present Turmoil and Uproar. One of your featured matches is a six-pack cruiserweight challenge where the winner will receive a guaranteed championship opportunity. Doors open at 6 p.m. with a bell time of 7 p.m. Door ticket prices are $12 for front row and $7 for general admission. Save $2 by purchasing them in advance at the ringside buffet. Don't miss it! Saturday, February 3rd, Mid-States Wrestling returns to the indoor building at the Harrison, Arkansas Fairgrounds for a fundraiser to help the District Fairgrounds in Harrison. Doors open at 6 p.m. with a bell time of 7 p.m. Many of your top MSW wrestling superstars are scheduled to appear, including Missouri champ Astonishing Austin Militalo, Blue Bolt, and Southern Heavyweight Champion Gary Roosevelt Graham. Ticket prices start at just $10. To reserve your seats for this event, visit mswtickets.com or call 858-848-SLAM. Friday, February 10th, Illinois Elite Wrestling returns to the Elks Lodge in Granite City, Illinois, as they present Phase 1 February fights. All champions Jody Ultra, A Boy and His Monster, and P.T. Beckham are scheduled to be in action. Door ticket prices are $15 for adults, $5 for kids. Kids 5 and under get in free. To save money on adult tickets, purchase tickets in advance by visiting IllinoisEliteWrestling.ticketleap.com. Squared Circle Megastars presents the retirement celebration for the Wild Man Beast at the Eagles Club in Berwyn, Illinois on Saturday, February 17th. Don't miss the conclusion of a fantastic 36-year career as the Beast will wrestle his final match in the main event. Doors open at 6 p.m. with a bell time of 7 p.m. Tickets are $20 at the door. Kids 8 and under are free. Save $5 by purchasing advance tickets at eventbrite.com. Remember, fans, without you in the seats, there is no wrestling. Make sure you make plans to attend these shows, and we'll see you at ringside.
All right, a lot of packed shows upcoming here. I know we kind of stretched it out here about a month, but like I said, we're trying to push the last show that the Beast is going to have here, and we're trying to push that as much as possible here. Like
and
I said,
especially since tickets are going fast with it, and you really need to get the tickets soon if you want to go up further for it.
Yeah, so like I said, and there are people coming from all different states, even maybe from different territories, which includes Puerto Rico, that are coming in because that's where Beast has traveled. That's where he's gotten respect and a namesake, and so it's going to be a big event. So, so with that in mind here, we're going to go ahead and before we get into any more wrestling talk, we're going to go ahead and bring in our featured guest of the evening here, who is a long-time sports writer, a professional wrestling enthusiast.
I am here, by the way.
So who? What now? Okay.
He's here.
Anyway. So, and then also we're going to be talking about a recent release that went out that he put out a couple months ago. We're going to give you a little background on that book here right now before we bring him on. Yes, and that is For the Love of the Show. Pro wrestling fans tell their stories. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on our featured guest of the evening. And here's the good doctor, Jeremy Housewright.
How's everybody doing tonight?
All right, Jeremy, how you doing, sir? Thank you very much for being on here with us. And And I know that you're in the St.
Yeah,
Louis
I
area
need
as
you
well.
to go to somebody's house and steal all their posters off the wall. Thank you.
So what? So I mean, I know you're in the St. Louis area as well, usually.
Yeah.
So, -6 today is too much for me. I'm telling you, I don't like this weather. I don't know. You need to kind of write about this weather, and I think the only man that can fix the weather in St. Louis is Dave Murray, and he's moved way far away from here. So smart man.
He was smart. Yeah, I mean,
he was a smart man. Yes, he was. Oh, so yeah, but we're gonna go ahead and get into as far as like all your projects, as far as what you've started here with the professional wrestling, and of course what you're doing outside of that.
Sure.
Most importantly here, and of course, like I said, wrestling's not the only sport because, like myself, I'm a big time sports enthusiast. I played a whole bunch of sports growing up, and even beyond, getting into different leagues. And I was basically in my 20s just by the channel. It was all ESPN networks that was on my television for about for as long as I can remember. So, I guess. Like I said, big sports enthusiast here. I'm a big, like I was happy, last week when we got or a couple weeks ago when The Rock announced the merger of 2 football leagues going to the UFL, and we are still having the Battlehawks being part of that. So
yeah.
And the thing is, I'm kind of shocked about that is they still kept between the 2 leagues, they still kept it down to 8 teams. I thought they at least probably would have gone to 10 or something, but to like maybe have like a wild card.
Money is a factor, I think, on that one.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I'm psyched about that. And I'll tell you what, I don't know, the Blues are having their struggles. And I'm sure Z smiling about that. Z don't care as long as his Blackhawks are winning.
Yeah, us Blackhawks winning. Yeah, get on. Yeah, okay. We are the bottom of the barrel, my friend. Last time I checked.
Hey, but at least you got.
I don't know if you can see. I'm a diehard Chiefs fan, so.
Right.
Super Bowl champions are back. They're going to be a tough out, so these teams better be ready.
So I guess you're kind of happy with that too. Can I just kind of get?
Did you enjoy paying for it?
Oh, I didn't have to pay for it. I already have Peacock. So.
That's been a big blow up today.
I don't know why people are complaining about it. You get a free week, so you get the free week and then you cancel right after the game.
Oh yeah, I mean, what it is, and I don't know what it is. It's just to me, of course, with the Rams left, F Kroenke forever, but the whole thing is. And I had to pick a team. It's just between me, it's hard to keep going with the Lions, and the Lions are having a decent year, and then of course with the Chiefs and the AFC. So I guess if I had an NFC team, it's the Lions. AFC, of course, is with the Chiefs. But I'm telling you what, man,
you Swifter.
The Chiefs just got too much publicity in the wrong way this year, and I hope it dies. Taylor does not need to be going to every freaking night game.
It don't bother me, man.
Taylor and Travis are about getting on my last effing nerve. I'm tired of hearing about it. It's like a tabloid that I don't care to read about. So,
sure.
I mean, I like to hear about Bigfoot meeting up with aliens going up in the third world, but not that.
How is search doing anyway?
Oh shoot! So. But either way, I mean, like I said, if anybody else has got any other questions or any other comments here, just let us know here. But to get the audience acquainted here with you, tell us a little bit more about the background as far as your sports writing, how you got into writing for the sports columns and pages, and also give us a little bit more story about your doctorate and behind the title of doctor for you.
Sure. So my first degree is in journalism. I went to SIUE, and I guess I had always enjoyed writing throughout school. I went to Columbia High School over in Illinois. That's where I grew up. So shout out to the Eagles. I don't get back there much, but I remember I covered a game there a few years back, and it was like going to Bayside High from Saved by the Bell when I pulled into the parking lot. All the kids had BMWs and brand new Mustangs and shit. So it's changed a little bit since I was there. But I got my start actually covering high school football on Friday nights for, at that time, what was the Clarion Journal. I don't know if you guys remember that paper, the suburban journals. They were owned by the Post-Dispatch, and they've since went out of business several years ago. But they gave me my start just writing stories on any game that I covered on a Friday night. So it was usually Columbia, Waterloo, or DuPont that I would cover. And that got me my start. And then from there, I went to SIUE. How you doing, Herb? Went to SIUE and started doing some entertainment writing for the paper up there, the Alestle. And my actual first interview with someone, well known, was actually with Tommy Chong. And so that was kind of cool,
Yes.
So yeah, that was cool. And one thing that was funny, I had interviewed a gentleman, stand-up comedian named John Melendez. And if you watch Howard Stern, Stuttering John, right?
Yeah.
So I posted the headline on the paper, "Did I Stutter?" And I came in the next morning, and my secretary was pissed. She said, "Your mailbox is full of messages." Apparently, the special ed department was pissed off because they thought that the title was offensive to students who had speaking issues. So I literally had people out in front of the office with picket signs saying to boycott the newspaper. And when I went out there and tried to talk to them, I couldn't understand anything any of them were saying because they all had speech impediments. So,
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing.
You can laugh. That was the first time I ever really got in trouble writing something. Not the last by any means, but so yeah, from there I just got a job in Waterloo, Illinois, as a sports editor at the Republic Times. Did that for a couple years and decided once the internet boom really hit, I saw the writing on the wall for a lot of newspapers. I knew they were going to go under. So I went back to school and decided to pursue education. And I've been in education now for 16 years. I've been everything from middle school English, middle school social studies, high school English, high school journalism, to an assistant principal for 2 years at Missouri School for the Blind. So I've kind of been around, and I was in Kansas City last year for a position and decided to move back home because I had left my wife here. And now I'm at Eureka High School, supervising study hall, which I thoroughly enjoy because I don't have to do lesson planning or grading. I just get to hang out with the high school kids and shoot the breeze with them and, help them with their homework and stuff. So it's a good gig. But it also gives me time to continue my writing, which is where most of the book was actually written, was in my classroom. So, and I did a lot of the interviews in there too. I always tell my students they're going to have fun in study hall because I usually do my interviews during the day in class. So like next Thursday, I'm interviewing Drew McIntyre over Zoom. So the kids will get to listen to that. And then the following Thursday, I'll be interviewing Nia Jax over Zoom. So the kids will get to listen to that as well. Last time WWE was in St. Louis, I actually interviewed LA Knight over Zoom. So that was a good one too. But anyway, I'll digress. So I got my teaching degree and taught in inner city for 2 years, which I could probably write a novel on that experience by itself. And then from there, just kind of moved around to some different schools here in the St. Louis area and kind of out further down 44. I actually live in St. Clair, Missouri now, have been here for 15 years. And so I'm in St. Louis still quite a bit. I'm close enough where I get to all the sporting events and stuff. But I write for, I'm an editor for Review STL. And we cover everything from the Blues to Mizzou to the Billikens, entertainment, concerts, things like that. So writing the book was just kind of something that I always wanted to do. And I had several ideas for topics. And this one just kind of came natural because I'm such a big pro wrestling fan. So I figured, what the hell? It's a topic that I love. And so I just decided to go with it. And this was the result. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. I would have liked to include a few more stories in it, but maybe the next one. So, but yeah, so I still write sports stuff and entertainment and all that good stuff. And so yeah, that kind of brings me up to where I'm at now.
Wow. Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, it's got to be a thrill. I mean, I wonder if any of your kids are like fans of the WWE, and then they have to see all that. I mean, I like to draw like a fake, like a fake pass to get into the school just to watch, but that's just me.
I need a whole pass.
Yeah, I got a whole pass. I'm a senior.
Well, I used to take a title belt to school when I was a middle school teacher. I would hold contests. Whoever scored the best on essays would get to carry around the spinner belt for a day around the school.
Well, so terrible belt choice, but
that's why I let him do it. I didn't want to get any of my other ones ruined, so I'm like, the spinner belt sucks.
Fair.
The young kids like it because it turns, So it was like a fidget spinner.
Oh man, yeah, well that's cool. Before I throw it over to Zach, I know you said that you're. I didn't realize you're in St. Clair, but you've got a personal invitation for me, and I'll cover you here if you want to even come down to the next ACW show that's in St. Clair, which is on February 17th. So
I just heard from a guy who's on that card. I think a tag team. He reached out to me. I'm trying to see if I can find it from.
Is it Brian James and Mark Morgan or?
Let me
no,
see.
the Lumberjacks. The Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks.
Yeah.
That's it.
They reach out to everybody, so
Yeah, I forget what tag team is from St. Clair. God, I just have no idea. I'm an idiot.
Stop anywhere in town for anything, and you'll find out.
Yeah.
Cutting promos everywhere they can in St. Clair. All right, Z.
So with this great, wrestling burst of, journalism that you have in this career that you've already set your path on, what made you, get into it? How did your fandom start of it? Because you already seem like we're fans. Like if you you're a fan. So how did that all come to fruition? And like, what made you go, let's go that way too, because that's gonna be fun.
So I've been a wrestling fan since I was probably 6 years old. I'm 42, so it's been a long time. I've been a wrestling fan longer than I've been a Kansas City Chiefs fan by about 5 years. So, that's probably what I've been loyal to more than anything. And it's always kind of been WWF, WWE. I do watch AEW and I did watch WCW, but WWF and WWE were what I was raised on. My first event was actually in 1988. My grandfather took me over to what was then the Kiel Opera House, which is now the Peabody or whatever they call it now. That's attached to. Yeah. So he took me over there, and the first main event that I ever remember seeing was Hulk Hogan versus Ted DiBiase. So yeah, I used to. My grandpa used to take me every Friday or Saturday. They'd be in town. He would take me over there, and we'd either go to the Kiel or we'd go over to the old arena and sit up top and just laugh like hell because he wasn't a wrestling fan, but I was a huge Hulk Hogan mark. And I tell people, and I even mentioned in the book, Hulk Hogan was on Saturday night's main event one time against King Kong Bundy in a steel cage, and King Kong Bundy basically squashed him, and they had to wrap his ribs. And I remember I went to bed that night crying because I thought he had killed Hulk Hogan in the middle of the So that was, that's kind of how I got brought up on wrestling. It was just my grandfather taking me. And my grandfather was probably the most impactful person in my life. And he passed away about 5 years ago at the age of 91. And I'd been wanting to do something to kind of honor his memory. And we went to a lot of football games together. We had season tickets to the Rams when they were here. He's actually the reason I became a Chiefs fan, because growing up, we didn't have a football team here in St. Louis. So he would take me to Kansas City for games. And so that's how I became a Chiefs fan. And but, even though I was a Chiefs fan, we'd go to all the Rams games together, and he'd take me to Cardinal baseball games and things like that. And but I always enjoyed going to wrestling shows with him, because we would just sit there and laugh, and he would tell me stories about being at wrestling at the Chase when he was younger, and in the military and such. I think he was telling me about how he had come back from Korea, from the Korean War, and went to a wrestling at the Chase show. And he used to like Gorgeous George. That was his guy when he was younger. So, I wanted to do a book, and I'm just like, you know what? I have all these great memories of him taking me to wrestling shows. And the thing that really lamented that I was going to do this book was I started traveling to different shows around the country, going to WrestleManias and such. And then, from there, I actually started shooting photos for WWE with Review STL. So every time they would come to town, I would get to shoot the Raw or SmackDown or the house show or the pay-per-view. And I built up a good relationship with them over a few years, to the point where I would be able to go to SummerSlams and WrestleManias and shoot photos there. And Amanda, after all that time, I met a guy from Canada named Joey, and a couple friends from Los Angeles who I believe are watching or listening tonight as well. And we just became great friends. And the only time we would really get to see each other is if we would meet up at shows, either in Las Vegas or New York or wherever. And so I thought about that, and I'm like, man, that's pretty cool that I met these guys that, I never would have talked to unless it was for pro wrestling. And so I thought, there's got to be other people out there with pretty cool stories about how pro wrestling has affected their lives. So I just kind of put the word out and started, looking for people with stories to tell. And I had a couple in mind right off the bat that I wanted to put in the book, but I found a few people. A couple of the people I didn't get with in time to get their stories in. So I actually just announced this week that I will be writing a sequel to this book.
Nice.
With some more stories. Everyone who's read it, they're like, man, you gotta do more of these. You gotta write another book. And I'm like, I don't know. I was thinking about writing something else, but I've kind of built a little bit of a following with this. So I'm like, what the hell? I'll do another one. And, I'm sure I can find plenty of people with stories to tell, and, enough to fill it.
The great thing about this, and because I'm just a wrestling junkie, like it's what cemented me and what coddled me when I was pissed off. It was everything. It's everything to me. So I'm a fan through and through, and first and foremost, always will be. I kind of took a similar. I started writing stuff and doing We Talk Wrestling. It was just like my fan thought on how it's going and why it's going and what should it do differently. What I call sidearm booking.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. And then grandmother was who got me into it. I keep going to shows for her, and then now actually being a part of it and listening and talking and learning. One of my good friends, Skylar Davis, one of the guys that watches here, him and I met at a Glory Pro show, just two souls basically. And it was like, we're sitting next to each other, we're yelling, screaming, still doing the stuff. So that's cool that you met friends and wanted to bring those stories of us fans, because we are the third individual in that wrestling ring in some aspects. So beautiful, beautiful way, man.
Jason Spurgeon's an idiot. You mentioned a good point, though. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me, was the relationships that I've made because of this. Like this idiot on here, Jason Spurgeon, he was a friend of my wife's when we first started dating, and I remember the first night I met him, I couldn't stand the guy. I remember my wife took me over to his house, and I'm like, this guy's an asshole. Like, I can't stand him. And Then a few weeks later, I was back over there, and I found out he was a wrestling fan. He found out I was a wrestling fan, and shoot, we talk
And you
almost
still
every day.
found out he was still an asshole, though. So
Yeah.
you confirmed it. I mean,
True.
at least two of us
No, that's a real friend right there.
At least two of us really know who Dirty is and dealt with him before
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So, yep.
No, we got to keep that fandom alive, because when it's a healthy time and we can just sit around and BS about wrestling and who we like, why we like him. Okay, Hulk Hogan, you thought he got smashed. Man, I got to experience that with my son. Like, we went to Money in the Bank on Father's Day, right? Down there in St. Louis. And Shinsuke Nakamura, he's like pumped to see Shinsuke Nakamura. So this is our son's first wrestling event. He's never been, like, he went to, I think, 2 local shows, but like fell asleep because, he was a kid. But this is the first big show, and he's all pumped for Nakamura. And then when Baron Corbin beat him up, oh my God, dude. Yeah. We just seeing it. So, like, that's what I love about it. I love passing it down to my children and seeing all these other families, meeting people, and having this awesome, gratitude. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's one of those, sports that you don't really have to be divided as a household on. Like, my wife's not a fan, but all my friends, we go to shows and we don't like the same people. We don't like the same. Like, I'm a huge CM Punk fan. I love the guy. A lot of my friends don't like him, but we still go to the shows together. We have a hell of a good time, and it don't matter. It's not like going to a football game and if I would go to a Broncos game and my friend and someone who was there with us was a Broncos fan, I probably wouldn't talk to the person. I'd be like, "What the hell's wrong with you rooting for the Denver Broncos? They're a shit team. Like, why would you root for them?" As a Chiefs fan, I've just been trained to hate them. Kind of like the Rams now. I can't root for the Rams because they screwed over St. Louis, so I hate them. I don't care how good they are, who's on their team. I'll never support them again. Nope. So, but wrestling's totally different. Even though you may have had your devout WCW fans back in the day, they're still, I'd say probably the majority of them are all still wrestling fans today, because you can always find something that you enjoy about the art form.
Amen to that.
Yeah, I agree. So you had mentioned, along with your writing duties, that you also get involved with WWE whenever they come through with photos and whatnot. Are they always for, work oriented with the photos, or do you take some for personal use? And do you actually have a place to view it at right now? Yeah,
reviewstl.com is the place to see all the WWE photos. It's been a long relationship with WWE. I can remember I first started covering them probably 2018, and they were very hard to work with at first. They were very strict with media back in the day, and I really had to work to develop their trust. And like I said, when I first started getting photo passes to the local shows, I was ecstatic. I never in my wildest dreams thought they would start sending me invites to WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Like, I was in Detroit for SummerSlam this past summer, and it was a great time. I'd never been to Detroit before, so just going there was a blast. I'll be going to Philly for Mania, here in April, and I can't wait. It's just a different. It's a different experience than going as just a fan, because I've been to Manias as a fan, and they're a blast. If you've never been to one, you got to go one day. It's one of those things I think every wrestling fan probably has on their bucket list. But going then as a member of the media, you get to see certain things that the fans would not get to see. For instance, I was telling the story that a couple years ago when they had SummerSlam in Nashville, I went, and they took me down to the field, but to get there, they had to take us this roundabout way, kind of backstage. And I remember I'm walking backstage with this person, and all of a sudden I look, and here's Booker T, and here's, Shane McMahon, here's Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and then I look to my right, and it's the freaking Undertaker. And I'm just like, as a fan, I was like, oh my God, I've never even met the Undertaker before, but I'm right next to him. Part of me wanted to reach out and shake his hand or ask for a quick selfie with him. But, I realized I'm here on a professional level. I don't do that, So sometimes it's hard to separate my fandom from the professionalism. That can be difficult depending on who the superstar is, But for the most part, I've been able to handle that pretty well.
Good deal. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I can understand how hard it would be not to want to get selfies with everybody, especially if you have that access. Because I was backstage at TNA once, and I'm like, look at everybody. I walked past Russo and Flair talking. I'm like, major photo opportunities. I'm like, no, because I don't want to get in any kind of trouble, So
right. Yeah. So I'm very conscious of that. So I have never had an issue so far, and I take it very seriously because, like I said, it's taken me 6-7 years to build this relationship, and I'm finally to the point where I feel like I'm trusted enough to be invited to these events. They send me invites to go to France and Australia when they do their PLEs, and there's no way I'm going to go, but it's just cool that they would still consider sending that invite to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is we want to kind of mix things up here a little bit here tonight. We usually don't, like I said, having somebody with your caliber on here. We just want to collaborate with different ideas and, of course, different opinions, because Lord knows, we need you give it a different spice every now and then, because people are going to think we're bland. Well, GQ anyway. But just kidding, buddy. Anyway, but as far as let's kind of talk about with last night, because we're talking about a WWE. Last night was the rebirth of TNA wrestling.
Yep.
And the big headlines come out of there. First off, Trinity gets knocked off by Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace is a 3-time Knockouts champion.
Yes.
And in the main event, Moose defeats Alex Shelley to become the new TNA world champion.
You know what's really crazy about that? Hold on, before we continue, you know what's really crazy about that? Moose was also the last TNA champion, technically. He was the last guy to hold the title before they moved it to Impact, and then now he's the champion now. That's killer. Even though Moose is just Timu Bobby Lashley.
Timu Bobby Lashley.
I hate to say it, dude can wrestle. Dude can wrestle. I will give that, but I'm a Bobby Lashley guy, and that he just reminds me too much of it, Bobby.
When did we move from the Wish jokes to Timu jokes? Now, when did we move from that? Come on.
When Timu came out cheaper, come on.
But I mean, I know Ruby's going to get into the last thing on it, but you had some debuts as well. Of course, the best AJ Francis, and how he got made fun of with hitting the ropes and going through the ropes. And I'm like, I'm listening to this video, watching it. It's like, holy crap, that's funny as hell.
Top data.
And Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke was there.
Yeah, she's under a new name now.
And then.
Yep. And this big one right here, guys. Nick Nemeth joins TNA Wrestling. He appeared at the end of the show. And hit Moose with his signature finisher that we've known to love so long that we're probably not going to be able to call that. He's going to have to find a different name for it, thanks to WWE. But just think, because I was just thinking about this here today. I mean, this guy has gone back over with WWE for 18 years? Because I remember the Kerwin White era where he was
the caddy. He was also part of the Spirit Squad.
Yeah, Spirit Squad came after that. But he had an 18-year history with WWE. He got released. He shows up here. I mean, of course, it's not going to have that same energy as the CM Punk return, but still, because we were all wondering where was Nick Nemeth going to go. So now Nick Nemeth is in TNA Wrestling. Apparently, there was another card tonight, and apparently he made his debut tonight. So
He also showed up in New Japan too.
yeah.
Yeah, he did.
So
TNA does extend their working agreements all over. I mean, they allow them to go other places.
I know that. This is the great thing about Nick, and this is why I'm so pumped about it. And we always take like wrestlers, and you go, well, there's the past wrestler that they kind of emulate or like who they embody, right? Mm-hmm. Dolph Ziggler's always gotten embodied by like he's the Shawn Michael of this because he's probably one of the most arguably underrated guys out of the Attitude Era of anyone in caliber of like how they can go in the ring. He's going to be the Shawn Michaels if he would have left WWF at the time. Yeah. Like that's how I really feel like he's going to embody, and hopefully he takes something that, you know, old Matt did and kind of just bounced around, but I'm pumped to see who he's wrestling. Who is he wrestling?
Yeah. And I think his match was against Zachary Wentz tonight at Snake Eyes down in Las Vegas. At least I think that's what it was, but I'm going to have to double check on that. But I just realized something here, just looking at this pic. Do you think his placement was on purpose? Now looking at the CM Punk Pro Wrestling tees. I mean, just stand right in front of the T-shirt. There's no need to be here.
Perfect.
I noticed that. That's too funny.
Perfect.
I just noticed that too. Yeah.
I think Nick is going to go to the level of Matt Cardona on the, you know, all over, and marketing himself bigger than he was when he left WWE. You know, just like Cardona did. I mean, and Cardona knows how to market himself majorly. He got over it when he was in WWE with that the Internet Championship and the Long Island IZ stuff and everything like that. So Nick's doing the same thing, and he'll probably be marketable and come back probably on top if he ever goes back to WWE.
All right. Now, Jerry, do you have a take on this? Now hearing about this news last night with this debut?
You know, I was really looking forward to this show last night. Unfortunately, the Chiefs game was on at this time, so I watched the highlights of this show this morning. I did hear that Nick was going to show up. I have a buddy who's actually in Japan right now who is at the Japan show that he was at last week. And I just got off the phone with him before I got on with you guys. He was actually at a sumo wrestling show tonight, so that was kind of cool. But you know, TNA is, in my eyes, and this is my opinion, I put them over AEW right now as the second most enjoyable brand. You know, they tell great stories. They have talent that is hungry, and they know how to book a show, which is something that AEW doesn't know how to do. So, shot fired, I guess.
Hey, we're going to probably get into
we'll get into a little more of that in just a minute.
Yeah, we will. But also,
but the question, hold on, the one question though between the two, who made the worst video game?
Oof.
Oh man, now that's a good TNA.
I hate to say it because I want TNA, like not that I want AEW to go anywhere either, but like TNA made the worst video game.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, if you really want to have that, ECW has to be in the conversation because that's pretty bad.
Yeah, but from all the talk about, you know, what we know with TNA, this, you know, as far as what they're trying to build, Z, you and I had a discussion about this earlier this week. Right now, TNA is number one in what part of the game? In the wrestling business, they are top of the line right now, in my opinion, for championship belts.
Belts, yes.
All those belts that came out are sharp as a tack, man. I'm telling you.
Nobody has better belts right now when it comes across the board. I'm talking across the board.
Ruby likes the big W's. I mean, you know.
Oh, shut
dude, those TNA titles look sharp. But no, I'm pumped to see TNA's rebirth. We've talked about it many times about how I would say Impact is the sleeper company right now when it comes to certain things. Like they were just chipping away.
Yeah.
Down there, remolding, rebranding, and getting a group of guys and girls that wanted and are hungry to make a name for themselves. Josh Alexander, so many others. Like, I'm so pumped to see this rebirth of TNA. Get on YouTube. You can get them as a subscription fee. $6.99.
Yeah. So, I mean, what? Well, they got a family plan?
They have a plan thing, a subscription plan. If you go to YouTube, you can to subscribe $6.99, and that gets you their weekly shows every Thursday night at 8:30, I think it is, and then their monthly pay-per-view shows, and then other cool one-off shows that they have.
Okay. Now here's before we go any further here,
cheap plug.
Texan put in here. Do you think TNA and WWE are working on something together? Now I will say though, TNA did announce a partnership with AAA last night. So you can only have so many partnerships, and I don't think this is going to be to fruition. Now, last year, or 2 years ago, Mickie James, they entered the Royal Rumble in St. Louis as the Impact Knockouts champion, wearing the belt down the aisle. Now, that might have been a one-off. That also, speaking of Mickie James, she was just recently announced as producer for OVW.
Yes.
So, yeah, Lord, that kind of interested to see where that's going to go and the roles that she plays behind the scenes. But I really don't see the partnership coming between that, because I think TNA, Scott D'Amore has really worked hard to rebrand this particular company and to give it a new breath, to give it a second life, and to go to go out and nail it. And I think they're going to do that. Last night's pay-per-view was pretty good. I think really the only match that really just got too much for me was the Fatal 4-Way tag. It's just way too busy in that ring. Man, way too busy. Slow the F down, guys. That's all I gotta say. Just slow down. No one can do that. So yeah, man. But that's what we got here as far as right now, and we're going to kind of
revisit something. So speaking of shots fired, let's get nitty gritty. So you've talked about doing time with WWE and working behind the scenes and taking photos, whatnot. You've also had to do it for the other side of the coin with AEW. Yes. And due to discussions that we've had with Ruby and stuff in our notes, it wasn't the best of times. So give us a rundown of like why or what you thought was different and off to them versus, the other company. What could they do better? Like, what do you want to see? Because I want to see AEW win too, because I like wrestling and there's a different version. So what do you think they need to do to really work the ball?
Well, for one, when it comes to working with the media, they, I hate to say it, but they don't have their shit together. They're very difficult to work with at times. And for a company that when they first started branding themselves as kind of being like the fan's product, owned by a fan, which I think is their major problem. He's the biggest problem they have, honestly, because he doesn't know how to run a company and he doesn't know how to keep the wrestlers in line. That's the biggest problem they have. Now, looking at it from my side, I will say that, they here's for instance, so I contacted them back in November about setting up some interviews with talent before they came to St. Louis next Saturday. Because Collision's here, which I'm sure that's going to be a dud of a card, and there's going to be hardly no one there.
I went the last Dynamite show, and it was that.
Yeah, I'm not. They gave me a press pass, and I'm not even going to go. I don't think, just because there's no reason. There's nothing that entices me to go, to be honest with you. But so I reached out to them for interviews, and they said, okay, get back with us at the first of the year, and we'll set something up. So January 3rd, I sent an email, and same response I've been getting. We don't have anyone available for interviews at this time. And I'm thinking, you have a company of 60 wrestlers. Somebody's got to be able to do a damn interview to promote this show. I mean, come
That's
on.
undercutting, by the way. They've got way more than that.
Yeah.
So,
but so that's the stuff that irritates me, because when you tell me we're going to do something and I put it on my schedule to, I was hoping to get Eddie Kingston. I've been trying to get Eddie for a couple years now. And every time I think I have him, they pull him, which pisses me off. So it's just like, when you tell somebody you're going to do something, especially if you're a major company, you need to stick to that, especially if they're willing to give you free press and promote your product in a time when it's not very highly thought of at the moment. So that's my biggest issue with them. And, looking at it as a fan, the storytelling sucks. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. There's not one thing that's on that show right now that I can tolerate to watch. And as much as I respect Samoa Joe, putting the title on him, I don't understand that move. You have a superstar who is blowing up right now in Swerve Strickland, and in my eyes, he should be your title holder, because you need the press. And guess what? I mean, as much as wrestling fans may respect Samoa Joe, the general public don't know who the hell Samoa Joe is, unless you maybe watch that Netflix show where he played the character. I forget the name of the show, but you guys might know what I'm talking about. The comic.
You're talking about Peacock and Sweet Tooth?
The Peacock show. I'm sorry. Yes, the cock. Yes, the Peacock. If you don't watch that show, you're not going to know who he is, and you probably may not know who he is anyway, because they don't make a big deal out of him, on the show. It's not even his voice. So that's just my whole thing. It's like, why put the title on him? I guess if you're going to do a transition thing, fine. But to me, it's boring. It is the whole show on Wednesday nights, and I try to watch it, but usually 15 minutes in, I'm out. As soon as the Young Bucks come on, I'm out.
Amen. Thank you.
Pee break.
God.
So to add on to that real quick before I get into my question that I was thinking of ahead, you're dealing with a money mark, bottom line. Somebody that should not be involved in the business.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a fan, who do they know more? Samoa Joe? Swerve. He's booking for himself pretty much on it. That's my biggest opinion on it. And I think that's why Samoa Joe got it, because he does have a little bit more name power for being in WWE. Swerve, no, not so much.
Yeah, but you got to follow your fans too. And if your fans are already rooting more for Swerve, I have buddies and people on We Talk Wrestling that are part of my Snapchat community, and they're sending me videos of them rolling down the street to Swerve Strickland's music and stuff. There's a lot more that goes into it, and you can really see the pattern and where they're going. The fans were rooting for MJF for the longest time, and then finally he was like, it was way at, they almost had to rebuild it so they could give him the belt because he was hot. They cool him off, and then they got to rebuild them all. Wardlow's the same way. Wardlow was amazing. Why would you have taken the TNT title off him? Like, why would you have let him go through all those mini, bro was on a streak, and you should have just rolled with that and had him keep crushing dudes. And so I watched them because the matches are fun, but other than that, I agree, there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
No substance.
Okay,
Right.
So we talked about the bad with AEW and working with their media department and whatnot. And then you mentioned, when the opportunity usually presents itself and they give you the offer, you usually will cover WWE pay-per-views or premium live events. Now that's so-called pay-per-views. And your last major one was being SummerSlam. Walk us through the whole start of your day before getting there, getting there, and then how everything is, what you're doing.
Sure.
Your rules, yay, nay, all that kind of stuff.
So actually, it would start the Friday before the show on Saturday. So, for instance, with SummerSlam, I had to be at this hotel in downtown Detroit at 9 a.m. Friday morning, and that was for a press junket with, let's see, who all did I work with that day? Finn Balor. Let's see. Shayna Baszler, Gunther, Otis and Chad Gable, the girl that's with them, I can't remember her name.
Maxine.
Maxine Dupree.
Ooh,
and
yummy.
who is the other guy I talked to? Ricochet. So all of them were in literally like this hotel ballroom, and the press lined up to do interviews with each of them. So I spent probably 3 hours in there getting, doing one interview and then getting in line for another one, waiting for the, media guys in front of me to do theirs. And then I got to them. And so that was basically from 9 to noon. Then after that, I was kind of free all day, unless you're doing SmackDown Friday night, which I usually only cover the SmackDowns during WrestleMania. So that's what I'll do the Friday night before Mania starts, mainly because they have the Hall of Fame right after as well. So for a show like that, say it starts at 7, I'll get there probably 4:30, and they will have, they might have a catering area for media. So I kind of go hang out there and talk to the other, media guys from all over, they're like for SummerSlam. I mean, shoot, there were guys not just from Detroit, but from, literally all over the United States. I met a guy from Vegas that I've kind of become friends with. So we talk now, but so we got there and just kind of did that. And so for like a SmackDown, they just give you a ticket to your seat, which is usually right next to the camera guy. So I'll usually be sitting right off the floor, literally sometimes right next to the hard cam. And so I'll shoot from there, or they let you walk around and shoot. And I'll do that. Now for the big shows that are in the big stadiums, like a WrestleMania or SummerSlam, you have the option of, if you're not going to shoot photos and you're just media, they will give you a pass to go up to the press box, wherever that may be in the stadium. But if you're shooting, there is actually a raised up stage kind of right in the middle of the ring, and it'll be kind of right behind the floor audience, and you sit there and you shoot from there all night. And so that's what I usually do. And what was cool about SummerSlam is the spot that they had with Roman and Jay, where Solo came out and did they put Roman through the table? One of them went through a table on the floor. That spot was being put together literally right in front of me, like two or three matches before they came out, and they laid down the stuff. They put this table up. So we knew something was going to happen. And then right before the match started, one of the WWE guys came over and he's like, all right, so just to let you guys know, stay out of the way because Roman and Jay are going to do a spot right here. And literally, you can see me, if you go back and watch the PLE on Peacock, you can see me just standing there snapping photos like crazy when they put him through the table. Because people were sending me, like literally 5 minutes after my phone was blowing up with still shots. People were sending me from their TV because they saw me just shooting photos. So, that was pretty cool. It's just a different look or a different view than you would see on TV or even if you're in attendance. And then afterward, they rush you back for the press junket with Triple H and whoever he brings out. I think that night it was Cody and LA Knight and Paul Heyman as well. I think he came out as well. Yeah, because Roman didn't come out after the SummerSlam match. He was hurt. So Paul Heyman came out and talked. So you get to interview them, and that airs on the network live. So, again, it's kind of cool to watch. And, whenever I'm not at one of the big shows, like I'm not going to Royal Rumble just because the stadium is kind of too far out from the airport and hotels. It'd just be a cluster trying to get around to that awful Devil Race Stadium in Florida. So I'm just going to watch it from home. But, I'm going to be watching the press junket afterward just to see some of the guys, to see if I know anyone, because I know my buddy from Vegas is going to be there doing the show as well. So I'll see if I see him on TV afterward. But it's cool because you get to meet, not just different media from all over the nation, but different wrestling journalists. Like I've ran into Bill Apter so many times at these shows, and he gets, they treat him like royalty there, which is really cool. So I try to stay close to him. So if he gets anything, hopefully I can kind of weasel my way into it as well, and get the photos or interviews, whatever he's doing. And it's just kind of neat getting to see these bigger name guys in the media that, you normally wouldn't get to see on a daily basis. So that's what's kind of cool. But yeah, it's not much longer than a regular day if you'd go to the show. But it's just drawn out more. So like WrestleMania is just super busy because, you got the media stuff on Friday. If you get there, on Thursday, they have the Special Olympics stuff that you can go to and shoot that and work with those kids, which is a blast. And, so it's just a long, like by the time WrestleMania is over that Sunday, I don't stick around for the Raw. I always travel home Monday morning, but I'm dead. Come Sunday night, I'm absolutely exhausted.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And it's kind of weird. We're going back to Bill Apter here because I remember on one press conference that they had, it's kind of weird him saying Bill Apter here with Sports Kitty, and I'm like, oh man, I'm always used to hearing Pro Wrestling Illustrated, but man, that was kind of odd. Well, and then also, Bill will be in town here in about 4 months or so with the SICW Fan Fest 2. And actually on Friday night, May 17th, he's going to be doing his one-man show with some VIP tickets that will go on sale here eventually. Of course, make sure you're going to sicw.org to get more information on that and see when you're going to be able to get those tickets available for that one-man show here with Bill Apter. So, yeah.
So real quick before we move into the one segment, you're talking about Bill Apter and how they treat him like a king, basically, when he's there. How is Dave Meltzer treated whenever he's there?
Here we go, a big laugh. I give this interview 2 stars. It sucks.
I will be completely honest. Meltzer has never been at one of the shows that I've covered. I've never seen him. So if he's there, he is not hanging around with the media. He's probably just sitting up in a press box making up rumors and putting them out there. So
or paying wrestlers to get the jobs in trouble and telling them some stuff, basically, So.
He's not highly thought of. I will tell you that. I've heard comments from not just Triple H, but other talent, and he's really kind of a joke. So, I always look for him though. I'm like, Meltzer's got to be around, and I think if it's a big AEW show, Meltzer's more likely to be there. But WWE, I think I don't know. I don't want to say he's been blackballed because I don't know that, but it came off to me like they really don't want him around.
Yeah,
I can see that. I can really see that. No offense. I mean,
I have enjoyed WWE's use of the press conference afterwards of the PLEs and stuff. It's definitely added another layer to not only the wrestlers' characters, but allowing us to slide up the ranks and do this stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I can just picture Dave Meltzer and Tony Khan talking about their unsafe working environments and sharing a hot fudge sundae together or something like that. It's
on that note, Ruby.
Oh yes. All right. So we're taking another. So we're moving into another segment here, and of course, this is one of our favorite segments here that we feature every week. And since I messed it up here in the beginning, I'm going to do the alternate one that we've been using forever at the beginning. Yes. And nope. Of course, I messed it up again because I forgot to turn my volume down. Yay!
GQ wins.
There you go. You get a donut. There you go, baby. It is time for Wrestling's Gold Memes, everybody here. And I don't have any made-up sponsors here tonight. So we're just going to go right into it. So, oh my Lord, that's too much of a comment. Anyway, let's go. So starting off here tonight, we get your basics in school. If you're a young wrestling fan, this is how wrestling fans learn to count to 10. Right?
It's so true.
But normal people, this is how you learn how to count.
Why not both? Why not both?
2. A tree.
But how? And counts counting is a little bit slower than I don't know, with the way that
And Earl Hebner's counting. Anyway.
Yeah, well, they don't throw punches that slow, I should say. Let's see. Our next one here. Oh, yes. Me interrupting my parents' heated argument to tell them about my favorite Capri Sun flavor. So. Good old Earl Hebner here. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious.
Okay, who the hell said that one? I'm just looking at
Who do you think?
Okay. Nope.
Nope. All right, so moving on to the next one here. Me after carrying all the groceries in sight in one trip.
Major facts.
Yep.
Okay, I did that yesterday when we were having the snow coming down and it was starting to snick. I'm like, man, I do not want to go back outside, so I'm going to get everything in 2 arms, open the door, and everything.
I've got 18 packages like that, or bags in one time like that.
You
Walking
look
like
jacked
Vince McMahon
man too, right?
Who doesn't do a Vince walk?
I'll only do it when I have to kind of slowly go to the bathroom, but that's about it.
That's almost TMI.
But seriously, though, yeah, who would walk like that? I mean, honestly.
So you do the Vince walk. I do the Santino Marella one. I mean,
I can eat. I bet you there's some audible noise coming from that area too.
After UFC, right?
Oh shoot! Let's go to our next one here. Oh yeah, teach you can hear a picture. If you just only saw that picture, Jeremy, I'm sure you could hear the laugh in the background of the million.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, classic. And our last one of the night here. Well, hold on. There we
What
go.
have you done?
Yeah. Never mind. I'm an idiot.
was there a second picture? I mean,
Nope. So here's our last one of the night. No, mostly for his dangerous and painful stunts, this one may have went too far. Steve-O was able to sit through an entire AEW pay-per-view.
I got to meet Steve-O one time.
He's one of my heroes.
I've met him twice. The first time he actually cut his tongue with a broken light bulb in front of me, which was quite traumatizing.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Wow.
And the second time, actually, he was supposed to be at the Royal Rumble here in St. Louis. I was on the elevator with all the Jackass cast, Johnny Knoxville and all them guys, when he was in the Rumble here. And Steve-O got sent home because he had just tested positive for COVID like a half hour before.
Oh, man, well, that stinks. Yeah. I'll tell you, but nothing like having a nothing says legendary by having the moniker of Jackass Legend to be associated with your name. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
oh my goodness. So
He
that's
fits
what we
into
got here
AEW.
for Golden Memes here for you here tonight. And as we get set to go into our next segment here, I'm just going to go ahead and post this up here, which is one of the main reasons we got you here for you tonight here. So this is your latest release for the love of the show. Okay, where pro wrestling fans tell their stories. So what moment or event did you witness yourself to decide to do a project like this, focusing on the fans of professional wrestling?
I think it was okay. So there were two, and they really didn't stick out to me until I started thinking about writing this. One was WrestleMania 33 when Lesnar beat the Undertaker for the streak, and at the time I was a huge Lesnar fan, so I was standing up and cheering. And I was also thinking to myself, is this legit? Like, what the hell happened? Like, I thought it was a botch. And
Me too.
then I looked around and I saw grown men crying. And at first, it didn't really stick out to me. Then at WrestleMania 35, when Kofi Kingston won the title, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was also crying. And I said, what the hell are you crying for, man? And he goes, finally, someone that looks like me is a world champion for WWE. And it hit me. I'm like, holy shit, you're right. Like, I get it now. I get it. And so I do a lot of people watching when I'm at these events. Much more than I should, probably. I probably look like a stalker at times, just watching certain individuals. Just because I like to see the passion from the crowd. To me, that's what makes AEW a fun live show to attend, is because their fans are so passionate about that product. There is a certain sector of wrestling fans, for better or worse, that want to see AEW succeed so badly because they seem to have like a devout hatred for WWE. And I don't understand that. To me, pro wrestling is pro wrestling. I don't care if it's TNA, WWE, MLW. I'll watch it if it's on. But there's a certain group of fans that they have such a devout hatred for WWE that I really think AEW could put, a blind guy, two blind guys in a ring and let them literally just bump into each other and they would mark out like it's the greatest thing in the world. Some of these fans, because they talk so much trash about WWE, and I don't think there's a competition there at all. There's no rivalry. Everyone knows who the top company is, and that's not going to change. There's room for AEW to be number 2, and there's nothing wrong with being number 2. But when I go to these shows, the thing that sticks out to me, and I think I noticed it mostly at the first All In, was just the passion of the fans that were there. And I'll be honest, when I was at the original All In, and I mentioned this in the book, some of the wrestlers that were on that card, I didn't even know. Like we were, and I talk about this in the book, but we were walking around it's like a WrestleCon. I don't think it was WrestleCon, but it's the thing that they do before the AEW pay-per-view some weekends. Conrad Thompson puts them on. And we were walking around this event looking at all the, autograph signings and such. And MJF walked right past us. And Dirty says, "Hey, MJF." And MJF turns around and goes, "Go F yourself." And
which a lot of people say to Dirty anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know who MJF was. And I'm like, who's this asshole telling me to go F myself? Like, screw this guy. Well, now that I know who MJF is and I've seen him for years, I get it. I've seen him say way worse to people. All right. I was at the press conference where he told the guy in the wheelchair he was having a better day than he was because he could walk. Yeah, he's ruthless at some of his fan meet and greets and stuff. But when I was at that All In, it was just the passion that these fans showed for these matches and some of these stars. I was just shocked. I was like, man, I haven't seen anything like this since the Attitude Era. Since Stone Cold and The Rock were huge, and Mankind. So it was really that kind of inspired me to think about writing this, those events that I had been around.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, as far as, with, telling it from the fans' point of view, as far as how they feel about professional wrestling and, with some of these tales that are in this book, you definitely want to make sure you get a chance to get a hold of the book. That QR code that's on our screen right now, we're going to have up here for a little while. that will take you straight to the site on Amazon where you can purchase the book. Once again, it is available on Amazon for the local show. And it is a paperback copy. So, and I think you also have a Kindle option available as well.
Yeah.
For those who have like Kindle subscriptions, you can also get that book as well for you there too.
I know one
Uh,
of the biggest dream stories I want to kind of read and everything is about Izzy Moreno.
Yeah, Izzy's great. Izzy was one of the ideas I had originally that I wanted to include, and she was a tough get. I'll be honest, it was tough to get her to do this at first, and not because she was an issue. She actually signed with an entertainment company that represents her already, and I was trying to get her on Instagram, and I could never get a hold of her. And I found an email, and when I sent the email, this company got back with me, basically wanting to know exactly what I was going to ask her. And that's one thing that I don't normally do as a journalist, is send my questions in advance. I feel like that kind of ruins the spontaneity of the interview. But for this, I'm like, you know what? It's for the book. I can deal with that. That's no big deal. So I had to send them. I sent them like a sheet of like 30 questions. And it took them about a week, and they got back with me, and they said, yeah, we can do it. Let us get with Izzy and see when she's available. So they did. And so it took about 2 or 3 weeks to set this whole thing up before I could even talk to her. But once I got her on the phone and talking to her, she was great. I mean, I am fully convinced that when that girl turns 18, you're going to see her in one of the bigger promotions. She has the drive, and she has done such a great job of putting herself out there, via social media and such. I mean, I can't go on Instagram without seeing a post from her anymore. It's like every day she's got something that she's talking about, or, a video, a little few seconds of a match she wrestled. And I had totally forgot that she had been involved in the NXT storyline with Bayley and Sasha. I had forgotten that. I just knew her from Busted Open because I listened to Busted Open every day, and she used to call in when she was 10, 11 years old, and she would know more than 90% of the fans that would call in.
That's one of the things about her that's so amazing is people that haven't listened to the journalism side of her her career going into the wrestling and the knowledge she had as on that side. Holy cow! Like, I'm with you. She's gonna be
a star,
heads above everybody else because of how she has just consumed.
She's a hard worker, and the fact that she lives in Florida but she goes to San Antonio to train at Mission Pro, and she goes by herself. That blows me away. I was thinking, when I was 16, I think it would have been cool to do, but would I have been mature enough to, take care of myself, to eat right, to, make sure I get my full workouts in, and, all that. And I'm thinking, as a 16-year-old kid, she's got a lot of maturity, which is something you don't see a lot these days.
Man, that is a haul from Florida to go to San Antonio.
Yeah.
To train. Holy crap. Dang.
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh. Getting her miles in early, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
Goodness gracious. No, yeah, I just had something here on the tip of my right here on the tip. Oh yeah. She keeps working hard, and even if it's like 2 or 3 years from now, she'll probably actually go to like an NXT tryout.
Yes.
To get in there. And I see something if she goes somehow gets on the roster, and if Bayley is still around, there's gonna be there's gonna be a story.
And we talked about that.
It's not. I was gonna say it's not just that. She knows. Stephanie knows of her though as well though too.
Yes.
So they'll give her a fair chance, and probably a little bit more than one, because they know how hard she's worked for it.
I think she's going to have her pick. AEW is definitely going to give her a shot because she's done press for them in the past, and she said that was one thing she wanted to get away from, was doing. That's what she's wanting to go to college for, is journalism as well. So she's fully invested into being involved in professional wrestling in one way or the other.
Yeah, it's her dream. Like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Passion, not just dream, passion.
Mhm. And again, that's what attracted me to the story, was the fact that it's her dream. And here's a kid that is actually following and living out her dream, which I think is a motivation for other people. You know, if this young girl can do this, you know, I think that motivates other people. And that's kind of why I have all the different people in the book that I do, is because they all in some form or another are not just passionate about pro wrestling, but it has motivated them to do something else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, at least she's got a plan of what she wants to do, and that's good to have that at 16 and just go for it. Um, yeah, she keeps that focus in, and she's actually, she's actually been she's looked good. I mean, as far as her in ring for her first few matches, so she keeps pursuing and working hard. She's definitely gonna get to that level where people kind of want to kind of right. And with Triple H and Stephanie, they're like, this would be such a great story to bring back.
Yeah.
You know, you know, showing up to support Bailey when she was a kid, but now she's old enough to battle in, and now she wants, and now they're an arch nemesis. So something of that nature. So that would be an awesome story to go. I would like to see it played out, and that's
definitely.
So we got one more discussion question here that I'm going to pull up here, and I'm going to ask this. And so, what WWE storyline would be best, starting from the Royal Rumble and carried all the way out through WrestleMania 40? Kind of thinking of everything that's going on here, because we've seen The Rock shake things up on Raw. Of course, Punk came back after Survivor Series and so forth. And of course, Cody with the old age tradition of wanting to finish the story, but never gets the opportunity to get to the last page, But I want to actually get Jeremy's take on this first. As far as what you would think, as far as the storyline, what would be the best storyline in WWE to go from the Rumble to WrestleMania 40?
Yeah, there's probably about 3 or 4 that I could think of right now that stand out. Of course, being a Punk fan, I am thoroughly looking forward to, I think we all know it's going to be him and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I think that's kind of a foregone conclusion, which I can't wait to see. I think those two, their promos together are great. I think you can definitely see that there is some legit bad feelings between the two. Seth is a big company guy, and we all know the things Punk has said about WWE in the past. I was privy to a couple things he said that have never been leaked out to the public. That when he came back, I was shocked. I did not think, after what I've heard, some things that he said, I was shocked that he came back. Basically called the company slave drivers in front of people. I was just like, when he would speak about him, you could just feel the contempt that he had for the company. So I did not, as much as I wanted him to come back, I didn't think it would happen. So I think that storyline is going to be intriguing. I am really intrigued by Nia Jax and Becky Lynch to see if they continue that. I'm not a big Nia Jax fan at all, but I think if used correctly, which it looks like they're kind of starting to move that way, kind of being that unstoppable giant, which when she stood next to Rhea the other night, she made Rhea look little. And Rhea's not a little woman at all. So to see if we might see her and Rhea in the ring together come WrestleMania for a title shot, I would be interested in that storyline as well.
Zach's dreams there.
Yeah. And then the Cody thing. I don't know where they're going to go with it because I'll be honest, I'm a huge Rock fan, but I think that Cody's getting the raw deal. I think you got to let him finish that story, and I don't think it's going to happen. So if you're not going to let Cody finish the story yet, who do you have him go against? And I think the natural answer is Randy Orton. I think you got to have Cody and Randy go against each other, which I love Randy Orton, but Randy Orton's the greatest when he's a heel. Face Randy Orton to me, as much as he seems over right now, I just don't buy it. Randy's a natural heel. That's his persona. It always has been. And he's best when he is a no-good SOB, when he's trying to be the legend killer and, all that. So I think we could see a turn from him on Cody, which would get them to Mania, and I think that would be a marquee match, them two against each other, So those are the big ones. I think I'm interested to see where they go with Becky Lynch if she doesn't get Nia Jax, because they really don't seem to have anything for her at the moment. And when it comes WrestleMania time, you got to have Becky in I would think, a decent caliber match to draw the people in. So it's going to be interesting. I feel like they're buying their time till Royal Rumble right now, with some of the matches we're seeing. Bringing Jinder Mahal back, the match with him and Seth tomorrow night. I think that's
don't hinder Jinder.
Yeah,
we don't hinder Jinder here.
I don't know if I would assume that you might see Damian Priest get involved in that, possibly trying to cash in again. And then where's that going to happen? When's he going to cash in? That's something I'm always looking for now. Who's he going to cash in on? I have an idea that I always thought Cody will finish the story, but Cody's not going to be holding a title for very long because he doesn't need one. Maybe have him win it and have Priest cash it in. I'm a big fan of Priest. I've been a big Priest fan since he was Punishment Martinez. In fact, I still call him Punishment Martinez because that's what I've always known him as from Ring of Honor. When I saw him in Ring of Honor, I said, that dude's going to be a star. He just had all the qualities of your WWE big man. And so I think he's great. And then, of course, are we going to see the Usos at Mania against each other? Are they going to hold that off? So it's very interesting. There's a lot of different ways they can go with things right now. And it's unpredictable, which I like, because a lot of the times it's pretty easy to predict which way they're going to go. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I even thought before they started having Punk and Rollins, I thought we might see Punk and Stone Cold at Mania, which that would sell the whole thing out on its own. And think about it. WrestleMania doesn't need The Rock. That's what bothers me. WrestleMania 40 does not need The Rock. Like I said, I'm a huge Rock fan. I'm probably more of a Rock fan than anybody, but I also love Cody Rhodes. I think he's the biggest thing in WWE right now. I think he's even bigger than Punk right now, because he appeals to. He's got that Cena factor where he appeals to not just grown-ups but kids, and he does the perfect job of shaking hands and kissing babies. He's the guy you want as the face of your company. So for The Rock to come in and push him out of the way, I got a little bit of a problem with that. I don't think it's right. And I'd like to know what Cody really thinks about that.
Yeah, I would agree. So I'm putting this question to everybody here. So Zach or GQ, who goes next?
I've said it from day one that it's. I personally say remove the belt from Roman. He loses it. I have Randy winning the Elimination Chamber. That's how I would have it go down. Have him win the belt. Royal Rumble. They're Fatal 4 is a Royal Rumble, right? So he wins the belt there, and then it's Cody versus Randy at WrestleMania for the title, Rock versus Roman, and let's go that way and kind of move this way and pull Roman away for a little bit, let it cool off. A nice feud between not Rock, but Randy and Cody. You could take that almost 3 shows, really, in all aspects. So you can have that and have the flip eventually. The flip could be involved in that. So that's where I would go with it. And then Seth Punk, 100%. Damian cashing in, though, when Punk wins the title from Seth.
I like it.
That's how I would set it down. And then, Nia goes away back to the gutter. Rhea stays champion. Sasha Banks does whatever the hell she's doing still as what's her name and hanging out at TNA, watching, their friend, staying away from WWE. Like we have all that kind of stuff happen. That's what we need.
That's not going to happen. No.
Shut up. I know it. I have this feeling at Royal Rumble we're getting Bayley goes over the Rumble. So I'm going to call it right now. Bayley's going over the Rumble. Sasha somehow is going to be the reason Bayley wins and all that stuff and reforming that group. And hopefully if they do it, bring in Naomi back as their third to go against the female faction of Damage Control, who I absolutely love. And there is something. I'm not a Sasha Banks fan. I'm not, I don't even know what her indie name is 100%. I can never remember it. I know it starts with an M. But
Mercedes Monet.
Whatever. Yeah. But Bayley and her as a duo, I will say, is money. I love everything they do as a team. I do not love her on her own. But as a team, I'm solid with it. And if they brought in Naomi, who's a gem of her own in the women's divisions, would be awesome. So that's how I would play it off.
You know what I said? I say I see Sasha winning the Rumble, definitely.
Sasha ain't win the Rumble. That's stupid.
If it's not Sasha, it would be damn, I can't think of her name. The one that came in from AEW. I'm blanking out.
Jade Carwell?
Yes.
Jade.
I mean, I would love to because she's going to be there. You're right, GQ, on that. But her first match, and everybody's going to hate me for this, and you guys can all hate me for it. It has to be her versus Charlotte. And she has to go over Charlotte. That should be her first match. No, screw Becky.
You got to put her over Becky. Becky's more beloved than Charlotte.
I don't care. Charlotte versus Jade Carwell will be a match that people are going to be talking about for years. I can promise you. When them two women touch for the first time, that match is going to be undeniably freaking gold. My heart and my passion's into that. That match is going to be so slick.
Absolutely. And the one thing I said it last week, that it'll be Rock and Roman at Mania for the title. And the head of the table, Rock's going to win.
They don't need the title. It's dumb.
Rock wins, but that's when Damian comes in and cashes in.
I mean, I do like that. I'm with you on that. I could get down with that if that's how it went down. I really could.
Yeah. I mean, as far as first off, when you interview Nia in 2 weeks, can I come by the
no
by the Zoom call? No, I was gonna scream my hole. No, I won't.
Yeah,
yeah, and I'm sorry. There's just so many reasons why we do not need Sasha Banks back in WWE, and the only push that woman needs is into the deep end when she's walking by on the pool deck. That's the only push she deserves. So now, as far as just saying, yeah, I mean, I don't know. As far as needing to win, I'm still. I mean, I like Bayley. I like either Bayley or I like Jade. But how they're going to work Jade in for her debut, I think if Jade comes in and just does what I would like to see is I like to see Jade come in and I like to see her clean and jerk Nia Jax over the top rope without any freaking help. That's what I would like to see, and I think it can be done.
And in the midst of her celebrating, she can get thrown out.
Yeah, possibly so. But if that happens, I'm with Bayley on winning the Rumble. I'm calling Cody being a back-to-back winner. And I don't know how to, Seth and Roman. I mean, Seth and Punk for the title. If Damian cashes in, he's going to cash in for the World Championship, not for the undisputed WWE Championship. And I am finding and praying that somehow Roman stays champion after WrestleMania 40. Doesn't drop the belt.
Are you wanting
Somehow,
to break Hogan's record?
yeah, I want him to break Hogan's record.
Why?
That's-
Why do you think you're one of the only fans I hear say that?
I know, and I watched Hogan was one that got me into wrestling too. I'm just I think like I said, I think they need to kind of shake up the history books a little, and like it, I think Gunther gave a good shake to it with the Intercontinental title, and he's still carrying his reign today. He shook up the Royal Rumble appearance length by being there for over 72 minutes, and I think they just need another major shake in the history books. I think Roman Reigns needs to try to hold on to that title until Survivor Series next year or this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
I mean, I'm with it.
Yeah, but I told these guys here that that's not like to root for. But of course, we know nothing gets played out
So,
because it's getting close to that point. 2024 is going to be a big year as far as like major shakeups in WWE.
when is Hogan's record getting beat by Roman if he holds it? Is it SummerSlam,
September.
right?
September.
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 Yeah.
Because there was a talk online in one of the forums that I'm in where they're like, what if Roman wins and keeps the title over The Rock at WrestleMania, and then goes on and then because Madison Square Garden is somewhere down the line there. What if Cody wins it over in Madison Square Garden over Roman Reigns, where his dad couldn't, blah blah blah, like finishing the story, like truly finishing the story, lining it up for Madison Square Garden. I'm like, oh dang, let's go, I'm in.
Man, I don't know. I just feel like it has to be at Mania. I just I don't know.
I agree with you on that. It has to be at Mania and this Mania, I believe.
I really think it does.
There's a lot of angry fans at SoFi Stadium when it didn't happen last year.
Yeah,
it was all Solo's
fault. I just as big as a reception as The Rock has received the last 2 times we've seen him on TV, if they do go through with this, I have to wonder what type of reception he gets at Mania. If they do keep Cody out of the main event, I don't know. I just
Cody needs. I don't know. I think Cody needs to find some way. I think Rock and Roman need to squash an Elimination Chamber, leave it be, and then have Cody.
Roman's not even working Elimination Chamber. Rumor has it.
He's not?
No, it's already been reported that he's not working it.
Yeah, it came out this week.
Yeah.
Well, this could be also a factor. I don't think there could be also with his health going on with some health issues. He may not even make it.
See, I've heard rumors that he's going to retire.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean,
that's a rumor that's out there, like in the locker room. Like there's talk that because he can't even be in the locker room with the other wrestlers.
Yeah, it's very
because
limited.
Of his health. He has his own area they put him at to get ready because of his health. I mean, it's a major issue. So I don't know if he will stick around long enough to break Hogan's record. And with it being the 40th anniversary of Hulkamania this month, I wonder if they'll mention anything about that.
Yeah, possibly so. And you do make a good valid point too, because him with this battle he's had with leukemia for years now, and it's taken its toll. I mean, as far as trying to be a wrestler and doing battle inside the square circle and just trying to prepare for a match, and all these fans, I'm telling you, if I better not hear another fan about how he's had, not so many title defenses. Like I said, to all these guys, there's 2 different eras. We can compare. We can sit down all day, and you can sit and think about it. But don't dog the man that's not had that many title defenses.
There's nowhere in a conversation that you don't put Roman Reigns in the same conversation as Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Sting, John Cena, Stone Cold. He's in that conversation. The man did it. Like And I was the biggest, like when he broke away from the Shield and was doing that big dog thing and being a total tool bag, like I was hard on that. Like, no, dude, this ain't the guy. This is not the Roman we deserved. This, but
Yeah.
in the end, we got it, and we got to be happy as fans that we got to see this version of Roman that we all 100% deserved. Like, this is the guy we deserved from day one. So ride it out, because he's not going to be here long with us. And we've already lost one that we all talk about greatly. Actually, several, several.
Yeah.
But in the last year, we one that every fan, like, he rippled all of us just on how he told his stories. And some of us still want his stories told. So I'm very thankful for Roman and doing what he's doing for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Gunther. That's another one that I said he'll be a world title holder before the end of the year, and I stick by that. What do you do with him?
Miz is taking that belt. Miz is taking that belt.
Is it going to be Brock Lesnar and him at Mania? And
Yes.
Everyone says, well, Brock can lose because he's Teflon, which is true, but when's the last time we saw Brock Lesnar win a freaking match? I mean, how much validity is there if you say, okay, we're going to have Gunther Lesnar at Mania? Who actually believes that Lesnar can beat him, or they will let Lesnar go over in that matter?
I don't know. Because I was just kind of shocked the way how Goldberg handled, this man handled Lesnar in a minute.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was an awesome bit. That was.
And I'm not a Goldberg fan at all, but that was great.
Freaking Oldberg. Yeah, going over in a minute.
Ruby, you're not bitter, are you? I mean,
no, I think I don't.
I would love
predicting he shows up on AEW. Goldberg will.
Oh my God! I wish I could smack you. Just
stop. I'm predicting he's going to walk out.
Stop.
He's going to walk out with a tray of white powder, and Tony's going to take it from him and give him his contract.
Freaking Oldberg and Ryback are going to get their retirement match together, and Tony Khan's going to make it happen.
So one other guy that I want to talk to before I get to the next question, because the next question kind of ties in. So through Survivor Series, Punk was a big name that was thrown around in media prep, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You're also a huge fan. I'm a massive CM Punk fan. And before CM Punk even jumped and joined AEW, and there was the rumbles on the internet saying that he's coming back, right? And I'm like, no, he shouldn't go to AEW. AEW is going to be the worst decision ever. I legitimately said that on We Talk Wrestling. It was a terrible idea, and that he needed to go back to WWE because there were so many more stories that needed to be told there. One of those things, which was cool, and one of the guys we didn't get to talk about, and somebody that I absolutely love that took us through the pandemic era as champion, is Drew McIntyre not getting used, right? So how do you think he fits in? But the real question is how did you've already touched on it really? So how did you really feel when Punk showed up? Did you know about it? Because you have also got to work with him before he made his comeback. So did you know about it? Was there an inkling you already knew, or give us the rundown on that? And how is Punk actually?
Punk is awesome. I've worked with him 3 different times. And the one time was when he was actually fighting for the UFC. I worked with him, and he was great. He knew I was a wrestling fan, and we joked. It was the Friday before the show, before his fight, and we were at the media thing, and basically we're in the United Center in the lobby, and they had all the UFC fighters there, and it was crazy because they had their champions lined up and everything, and people were just drawn to Punk. Everyone was wanting to talk to Punk. Nobody cared about the champs at the time. I don't even know who the hell they were then. But I was there with Punk for probably 2 hours just standing by him, and we were, just having small talk. But he was great, and he's always been great to talk to and work with. I've never heard a media person say a bad thing about him working with him one-on-one. He's always cordial. The thing with Punk is he's old school. He is a hard worker, and he loves the business. That's the thing. He loves pro wrestling, and he expects perfection from everyone that is involved. And if it's not up to his standard or liking, he will let you know about it. And that's why I didn't like him going to AEW, because you have a lot of thin-skinned younger wrestlers, i.e. Jack Perry, who can't take criticism. And, Punk is not pleasant all the time when he gives criticism. If you're in a bad match, he'll straight up tell you, yo, you effing sucked. You need to do this, this, and this to change it. If you don't change it, you're going to continue to suck. And we don't like to be criticized as human beings. I get it, but you have to learn how to take criticism. And a lot of these wrestlers, I don't think do. And I'm not saying he's not responsible for anything that happened over there. He bears a lot of responsibility for it. But at the same time, I don't think there was proper leadership put in place to control the egos of the wrestlers he was talking to. If Vince would have been over there, it wouldn't have been a problem. It would have been squashed. In fact, if Vince would have been running it, probably Jack Perry and Punk would have had a program together based on their issues that happened backstage. And that would have been good business. But we don't get that because you have a guy who doesn't know how to run a business running one with a bunch of young wrestlers who are used to being probably praised in everything they do all the time and not criticized. And I think that was his biggest issue over at AEW. So I personally have never had an issue with him. I've always been a fan. I think he like Orton, he's a better heel than he is face. I prefer CM Punk the heel. When he was with Nexus and the Straight Edge Society, I loved him. I thought that that's some of the best work he's done in a long time. I'm interested to see how he works in the ring. I think putting him with Seth in a program is the best person to put him with, because Seth is a good worker. And we'll see where he goes from there. I don't know. I don't expect any issues to arise with him in WWE. I think that him and Hunter have made amends. And, I think as long as he's making money, which they're making money hand over fist right now, you're not going to hear any complaints from anybody. I think as long as business is good, it'll be fine. So I don't foresee any issues with him. But yeah, I loved working with him when I was able to. I hope to one day get to work with him again, because he is just he's very down to earth as well. He doesn't walk around with a big ego, but I also think he doesn't particularly like being around a lot of people at times either. He keeps to himself. He likes his private life. He likes, being at home with his wife and dog in Chicago and going to, sporting events and things like that. So he's just a different type of cat. He marches to the beat of his own drummer, and I respect that about him. So yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about the guy, but I'm certainly not going to say he had no responsibility in what happened at AEW. I'm sure he did, but unfortunately, we'll never know exactly what went down.
Yeah. Now, there's also one other note here, because how much you like Punk, and I didn't put it here on our notes, but you've actually got a tattoo of his logo.
Yep.
Right there.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
So, yeah, so that's pretty awesome too to have that. So,
yeah,
and it's good to know that at least he's come back, and it's very, very interesting to see how a lot of people like there are some hate fans that are like, well, we'll see if he makes it to Mania, and he'll probably walk out again. Like, yeah, okay, whatever, bro.
It's a different company now than it was when he was.
Oh, I totally agree.
10 years ago, there's a lot different about it. I mean, I can tell you from 6 years ago when I first started working with them to now, it is way different. It's much more media friendly. Triple H knows how to spread the word about anything that happens. I mean, literally, I get press releases from them multiple times a day on stuff that I don't even care about, like just different records that they apparently break, at different shows, I get stuff on their upcoming PLEs in Australia and stuff that really has nothing to do with anything I'm doing, but they're constantly keeping their name fresh in the media, which is huge. That's something that they really didn't do as far as the mainstream media goes 10 years ago. And their health, the stuff they have with concussions and things like that is top of the line. Just as good as any pro sports team would have. So, I mean, you guys have seen them stop matches on TV when, I think just 2 weeks ago, they had a guy get concussed in the middle of the ring and they stopped the match on Raw. I think it was Raw or SmackDown, one of them. So they're
last Friday.
Yeah. Their health precautions are so much better than what they were years ago. And their policies on drugs and things like that are, they test these guys several times a year. So it's a different company. I think it's not just more media friendly, but I think more employee friendly, because I had been told stories years ago about some of the employees that worked in the corporate office. And it was like, from what I've been told, it was like walking on eggshells. Like, you could be fired at any second, and they would bring security up and literally grab you and drag your ass out of the building and throw your stuff out with you, and you were done. And they didn't even give people reasons, so things have changed, and I think he notices that. And I think he's changed. He's wised up a little bit, I think, from when he was younger. And he's there. And I don't think what he said that first show, he's there to make money. He's there to sell tickets and, make money. And I think he wants to go out. I don't think he has much time left. I bet we have Punk maybe 2 or 3 years max. And I think he's there to go out on a high note and finish his career off the way it should be.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
No, I agree. I mean, also to have some extra money just for when he does retire, so he doesn't have to try to get back into the ring in 50, 60-year-old and everything.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't want to be Ric Flair.
Or Sting.
Or you know what though? That's the thing. Another thing about AEW, Sting's last match is going to be a tag match, is what I've been reading. Is that true?
Well, I don't know. I have to do some research on that.
Against the Bucks.
Yeah.
Oh God, what a way to go out! Oh Lord.
I was under the understanding that it was going to be him and Jericho, but now this stuff has come up about Jericho. Yeah. I think that might have changed things. I don't know. But I'm a huge Sting fan, and that's really the only reason I still tune into AEW is to see Sting, because I've always been a fan of his. And I think I will say this. I think Tony has handled Sting for the most part pretty well, and done the right thing by him for most. I mean, letting him do some of these crazy moves he's done. Listen, he's 63 years old. He's been around longer than Tony Khan's been on this earth, probably. If he wants to do one of them crazy high-flying moves, you let him, because a guy like that, he knows what he can do and what he can't. So I have no problem with them letting him do some of these jumps on the tables and all that crap. It's always his decision.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Let's see. GQ, I think you're up next on your question, sir.
So, out of the stories that you had selected for your book,
mm-hmm.
which story took you by surprise the most in a good way, and why?
I would say Kyle Scarborough, who is a tattoo artist from Washington, Missouri.
Yeah, we know about him.
You know Kyle?
Yep.
He's had a wrestling career here in Missouri before he did all that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Tommy
Okay.
Trainwreck. Or Tommy Cross.
Trainwreck, then goes to Tommy Cross.
Okay.
So, yeah, he had his he actually wrestled in Missouri for Midwest Powerhouse Wrestling, which went defunct in 2005. And I don't think he really did much after that. So
no, and I know recently he did some tattoos for Ruby Riott, I believe, or Ruby Soho. They were in St. Louis when they were here, because I was ran them there at the hotel and stuff.
Yeah.
So what was it that surprised you with it?
I think number one, he's very soft spoken. He's a quiet guy, which caught me by surprise, knowing some of the wrestlers he's worked with, and being in the wrestling business, you have to be. Most of your successful guys are able to get themselves over because they're louder than anyone else or they're more talkative. So to see someone like him have the success that he's had kind of caught me by surprise because, tattoo artist from Washington, Missouri. Okay. Washington, Missouri is not really thought of very much when you come to Missouri. But
Right.
to see some of the wrestlers he's got to work with, Braun Strowman and Buddy Matthews and Ruby, and of course what attracted me to him is Bray Wyatt. He, for those who don't know, Kyle designed the Fiend mask, and I don't mean he made it. He did the drawing, the art concept for it, and Tom Savini, the Hollywood special effects guy, did the actual mask, but Kyle's the one who came up with the drawing. So I originally met Kyle looking at that because I was a huge Bray fan. And when the Fiend debuted, I was crazy about it. I'm like, I haven't seen anything like this ever that I can remember. And then when I found out that Kyle created the mask, I immediately went to talk to him. And this had been years before. I had done an article on Kyle for my website about this. And when I was starting to do the book, I'm like, I might as well throw Kyle's story in here and update it and put it in. And as I was working on the book, Kyle's story was put away and done, and it was ready to go. And I was literally sitting down here one day talking to some friends, and that's when we found out Bray had passed away. And I was like, this totally changes everything with Kyle's story now. Like,
Yeah.
I have to include this, but how do I include it without, number one, upsetting Kyle, number two, making it look like I'm trying to profit off of Bray's death with my book.
Right.
And it was a fine line to toe. And I think what helped it is the fact that I was such a Bray fan. And I legitimately was hurt when I heard he had passed away because I had minimal contact with Bray throughout his career. But the little bit I did run into him, he was just polar opposite from that character you saw on television. He was a very nice, he was a family man. I mean, he loved his kids. He loved it. He loved JoJo. He loved wrestling, and he wanted to be one of the biggest stars in wrestling, and he had the creative mind to do that. And that's what always kind of stuck out is how creative he was. Some of the stuff that he came up with, no one even ever heard about because WWE, I think, was too scared to even go down some of the roads he wanted to go down. Like, he had some real ideas of some dark shit that he wanted to do. I mean, he just did. But it was some of the most creative stuff I'd seen. The Fiend, when it first debuted, was some of the most creative stuff I'd seen in a long time. And it was kind of shocking. I was surprised that WWE rolled with some, like the Lantern was what caught me, and Kyle designed that too. Yeah. So when Bray had passed, I called up Kyle again, and I said, hey, man, I got to add this into the story. Is there anything you'd want me to include? He shared with me a text message chain that he had with Bray from the night the mask debuted. I think it was at a SummerSlam. And Bray had messaged him after the match. And so I put that text message chain in the book. And then he shared a picture of him and Bray together after he had tattooed. Anyone who followed Bray knew he had a skull on his hand. And that was actually done by Kyle.
Yep.
And he showed me a picture that I could use for the book. And there were a couple other things that I could have used. I just didn't have the space for. But Kyle was very open about his friendship with Bray. And he also shared some things that he had written on social media when Bray passed, some tributes to him and things like that. So that really kind of surprised me. Just I didn't expect Bray to pass away, one, and that kind of changed the direction of that part of the book. I guess another thing that really stood out was Derek Baker. And for those who don't know who that is, if you follow Baker Banter on social media, he's got 3 million followers on TikTok, and getting to interact with him is great because Derek is a WWE diehard. This kid just loves pro wrestling, and he is getting to live the dream, man. He gets to go backstage and meet all the wrestlers, talk to him. Him and Rey Mysterio and Dom Mysterio are actually, they keep in contact on a regular basis. He just had Rey on the Baker Banter podcast last week. And sitting down with him and his sister Jenna and hearing some of the stories about how the wrestlers treat him, and how they're so good to him, and seeing some of the videos, like he was backstage at AEW back when Punk and Cody were still there, and they both walked up to him, and he grabbed Punk and hugged him, gave him like a bear hug, and he said, "You're my hero." And Punk started laughing. He goes, "No," he goes, "You're my hero." And just seeing these wrestlers just be so kind to him. And, he got to meet John Cena. He had a conversation with Triple H. He told Triple H what he should do for the Royal Rumble and things like that. And, and just the fans. I was in Detroit, and WWE has a great relationship with Derek's family, so they send him to a lot of the big shows. When I was at Detroit, I'm down on the floor during the show with guys with press from Canada and Detroit, and we look up, and there's a line, probably 50 people deep, of people just wanting to get their photo with Derek. And, this is a kid from St. Louis that I knew. St. Louis people knew who he was, obviously, but I was shocked when I heard people from Canada. They're like, "Oh yeah, we follow him on social media. Derek's the man." So it's just and it makes me feel good because, also as an educator, I'm very protective of my students with autism and disabilities. And I grew up with an uncle who had Down syndrome, so I'm familiar with dealing with that disability, and seeing him kind of come to the forefront now and be like a spokesperson for that, and WWE embracing him and his family the way they have. It's really a great story to see. Derek's one of them guys that I look at, and he puts a smile on my face because he absolutely loves every minute of this. And he loves interacting with the public and his fans and the wrestlers. So it was just, it was very heartwarming to see.
Absolutely, yeah. And I didn't even know Derek was from St. Louis myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another cool thing. But I see him often on different reels and Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So but that's cool, and it'll be interesting to take a look into that story, along with a lot of others. Once again, it's For the Love of the Show by Dr. Jeremy Housewright, which is available right now on Amazon, and of course also for Kindle subscribers. Make sure you're picking up a copy of this book. Once again, it's in paperback. It's good. I mean, definitely good stories, and definitely a lot put in, especially with the story with Kyle Scarborough, in relations to the tattoo artist for Bray Wyatt, creator of the Fiend mask, and also the Fiend lamp, and so forth. But as I'm going to go ahead here, and like I said, you got this book out here now. It's only been out for a couple months. Hopefully, you've been getting some good feedback. It's and also some a lot of people getting the chance to get this book to take a read on it. But when you do write your next book, because I know you're a sports writer. I mean, everything else. I mean, everything about you. You're going to have your time right now. So you have the ability to go ahead and do another book. So would you cover a different area or aspect of professional wrestling in your next book, or would you target a different field in the sports world and get away from pro wrestling and all that?
So I'm going to go ahead and write a sequel to this one first, I think. And
Okay.
because there were some stories that I didn't get to put in that I wanted to put in, and there's a
Okay.
couple that I've been told about that I really want to tackle. Um, for instance, there's a group in New York called the Wrestling Club. It's a group of students from Kip Academy in New York. They're middle school, and their teacher is just a humongous wrestling fan. So they started this after school group called the Wrestling Club, and he shows them matches and they study them, and they've studied professional wrestling, and they talk about it, and kind of what we're doing now. And I thought, man, as a club at school, like, that's awesome. And it just so happens that they've had Swerve come in and talk to them, Sasha's come in and talk to them, and Cody just agreed to send them all to WrestleMania this year. He's going to pay
Wow.
for their tickets and hotels and send them all to Mania. But they're very hard to get a hold of, though, because the school has to approve any interviews that this teacher gives. So I had
Right.
sent an email to the school like he told me to do, and they never responded. So I had to leave them out. So I'm still hoping to get them in. And my hope is that I can talk to him in advance and then get together with this group at WrestleMania in Philadelphia and talk to them, and hopefully talk to Cody about him too and include that. So I'm kind of aiming for that being one of the stories. There's also a couple local guys from St. Louis that have approached me about doing their story with the book. So I'm going to do that as well. But as far as another aspect of pro wrestling that I had thought about writing about, people have told me you should just do a book of all the interviews you've done with pro wrestlers throughout the years. And my only thing with that is it'd be very easy to do, but I worry about trademarks and things like that. WWE is very protective of things like that.
Yeah, of
So I don't want
course.
to ruin any relationship that I've built with them, trying to do a book. So that's a possibility. Maybe I don't know if I'll ever do that. I feel like if you want to read the interviews, you can find them online. I mean, everyone's had
Okay.
interviews with wrestlers, and that's why I chose to do this topic originally, is because no one's really ever heard the story from a fan's point of view before, and that's why I chose to do that. And it kind of freaked me out because right before the book was coming out, WWE put that documentary out about Vladimir. They're a longtime fan, and I remember I saw that on Peacock. And I'm like, holy crap, I think they might have just beat me to my book. But after watching it, I had my wife watch it a second time. And she's like, oh, you'll be all right. She goes, this isn't quite along the same thing. But Vladimir would have been a good person to talk to. And I never even thought about him at the time. And especially as he's getting older, his speech has gotten so bad. He's very hard to understand now. That's why he hasn't made any appearances on WWE shows. They wanted him to come on, but he's very self-aware that he can't speak very well anymore. So he doesn't want to come on and try to embarrass himself, trying to speak. But then, you asked about another area. I actually am trying to get I'm trying to finalize an idea that was proposed to me about a month ago. So a friend of mine runs a Facebook page, and it's basically it's got a religious background, which I didn't want to get involved with it because of the religion aspect of it, not because I'm anti-religion or anything like that, but when you write something or do something based on religion, you're pigeonholed. And people are like, oh, this is a Jesus book, or this guy's just going to preach to us. So I was leery about it, but I started looking into the idea, and basically the idea revolves around a painting that was created 10 years ago by a young lady who was going to open her own art store, and her sister and her sister's husband both drowned in a pond one winter. They fell through the ice and drowned. So she created this painting, in honor of that. And she has begun to pass it around to different cancer patients. And every time a cancer patient gets it, they sign a message on the back and put their name and date. And then once they are done with their chemo and they're cured, they pass it to another cancer patient. And so I went with my friend and the lady who was passing it on. This was just a month and a half ago. They were giving it to a 7-year-old girl who had just been diagnosed with cancer. And we went to her house and they gave the painting to her. And it was hard for me to stand. I don't have kids. And I tell people I'm not a big fan of little kids. I try to avoid kids as much as possible, even though I'm a teacher. But, man, I tell you what, I was a sobbing mess. Because this little girl walked out of her house and she had a big old smile on her face, blonde, long hair, looked like your everyday normal 7-year-old girl. And she'd just been diagnosed with some type of stomach cancer. And literally the next day, she had some type of medical event where they had to resuscitate her at home and put her on a helicopter to Florida to some specialized treatment facility. She's alive and she's doing well, but that day we were there, they're like, yeah, she needs 21 treatments. So this will take, I think we do 1 treatment a week. So it shouldn't take, but 6 months, and we're hoping she's cured. And then the next day this happens. And it's just like, wow. But some of the stories that are involved with this painting of people who have gotten it, and not everyone has survived. There was a police officer from Columbia who passed away, and his wife's a teacher over in Columbia, Illinois. And she passed the painting on to another patient after he passed away. So, and the reason that I'm attracted to that is my dad passed away when I was like 20. It was the day after his 45th birthday. He died of cancer. And so I thought that would be a really good story to tell. So that's something that I'm really taking into consideration to write. But as of now, I think I'm going to go ahead and keep going with the sequel, just because it's something that as people read the book and the word's getting out, more people are coming forward with stories to tell me. And some of them are good. Some of them are ridiculous, and I'm not going to, not going to put them in. But it's really cool seeing so many of these fans coming forward and saying, hey, I got this story to tell, or, this happened to me years ago, and this is why I still follow wrestling to this day and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do the sequel first.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you've got a good chunk of that already in there, get your other stories and then be ready to be released again, and then worry about your next project then. So excellent stuff, my friend. Once again, For the Love of the Show by Dr. Jeremy Housewright. Once again, available on Amazon and, of course, also available on Kindle. And do you have, obviously, you say you're not going to be going to the Rumble, but do you have any other plans to make any appearances anywhere? Can anybody find you on any type of social media platform? Or
Yeah, I will be at Raw in February here in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And then let's see, I'll be at the SICW show in May, selling my book there. So people can find me in person there. I'll sign a copy for you if you want to buy one there. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook under JM Housewright, or Instagram. Let's see, it's Dr. Jeremy Housewright. So you can find me on those 2 platforms.
Okay, awesome. And also, don't tell any of your students where to find you. So,
you know what? The high school kids don't bother me. They're fine. It's just the middle school kids like to do stuff.
Just tell them, get back to work.
Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, I'll tell you, like I said, we'll be at the Fan Fest. In fact, we are the first official vendor of this SACW Fan Fest 2. We wanted to jump on the ball. And of course, we'll be doing a live simulcast there on that day. I don't know exactly the time frames we're going to cover. Maybe we're going to definitely do at least 3 hours. Push it to 4. It just all depends, and also depends if we get the actual key to the internet. So
let me ask you guys a question about that real quick. Is there a legend you're particularly looking forward to meeting when you're there?
You know what? Here's the thing with me, because there is a whole line. I mean, they're bringing in a whole line of women wrestlers from the 80s that are going to be inducted into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Like I said, I got right in when right after Hulkamania was born. That's when I started watching it. Then I started seeing the Rock and Wrestling connection, and then we seen Winnie Richter, Fabulous Moolah battling, and then Leilani Kai getting in there, and then I mean, there's a lot of good ones. But I'll tell you, I think I know what GQ's favorite one is, but I'm going to go and let him say.
No, I want to see what your guess is first.
Does this have to do with a certain train?
No. I met him in Vegas, so I'm but no, I was going to say that's Zmiz's one he wants to meet and hang out with, and
only to smoke weed. But anyway,
yeah, it's hard because I've met a whole heck of a lot. Mm-hmm. Some I've missed though, and I wouldn't mind meeting Tito and Abby. I know they came through quite a few times, but I've missed both opportunities to meet them.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of names that are on this fan fest, and it's just I don't know if I can really single out one over the other. Mm-hmm. I just like how Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell are being advertised as the High Flyers reunited, but then B. Brian Blair's just like, hey, I'm coming too. What about the bees? So
yeah. Oh, you know what? Hold on. No, let me change mine. Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, Ricky Morton is a blast in the freaking back in the locker room, bro. Let me just he is a freaking ball. And I mean, the man has just always got smiles, always got something positive and joking to say. I mean, my God, Ricky is just man. So is there 55 currently? 55 wow. or is that vendors or is that?
I think that's the guess. Give me a second.
Yeah,
let me go to Herb's page.
And I'm gonna hang around more because I don't know what it says 55. I'm assuming that's legends that are gonna be there, but
let's see. Scott Romer, L.A. Smooth, Jimmy Valiant, Stan Hansen, Debbie Combs, Tom Pritchard, Haku, Ryan Blair, Rock and Roll Express, Jimmy Hart, Sergeant Slaughter, Ed Wheatley, Wheatley, sorry. Beastie the Road Warrior. That's not the same Beastie that we know. Abdullah the Butcher. Dr. D. David Schultz. Hold on. Herb posts a lot, so.
He said it's between 55 legends and guests, and there's stay tuned. He says stay tuned for a few more.
Godfather Tito, Doug Gilbert, Rip Rogers, Dan Severin, Downtown Bruno. No, that's actually one for me being, a manager and stuff. Bill Apter. Hey, there you go. Well, I have a blast with him, especially if he does karaoke that night. I've seen that happen before. George Abel, Glow Girl Ashley, and Roxy and Sunny, not the other one that's in jail. Tokyo Monsterka Haggis, Lalani Kai, Wendy Richter, Judy Martin. Good Lord, I'm getting tired. Rock and Roll Express, like I said, Coco Beware, Tommy Rich, Lalani Kai. I'm repeating myself, I think. Sal the Pal Renaro, James Beard, Tim Storm. I am winded as hell heck. Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell, Steve Kern, Teddy Long and Mac Davis, Locato, Mario Mancini, Paul Roma.
Now Roma's a good one. So
now Bob Orton. I haven't met him before. He might be a cool one to meet.
Yeah, Bob Orton was my first singles match ever on a TV taping, and about creamed my ass. But anyway,
moving on.
Yeah, moving on. But Paul Roma, though, Can I just say something about Paul Roma though? Paul Roma is the most underrated guy that I mean, they could have done some. The most he got out for WWE was Power and Glory, and then of course trying to make him a horseman in WCW. They could have done something else with him, but because Paul Roma was such a gifted athlete, that guy sprung to the top rope with ease from the freaking from the ground or even from the apron.
Mm-hmm.
Just sprung. I mean, the dude was athletically gifted. He was clean. His moves are clean. Everything else, and they just dropped the ball with Paul Roma in his prime. I'm sorry. And then of course Tim Storm, I'm actually looking forward to meeting because I worked with Tim Storm a couple of times in Arkansas about 25 years ago, and with the promotion that Wild Bill Ash was running down there, around the Little Rock area and all that. So it's gonna be, of course, he's not gonna remember me from Adam, but it still be good to know. And I would love to see.
You had hair then.
Yeah, yeah, I did have hair then. Yes, yeah, and I also saw other things too back then. But freaking Tim Storm would be good to have. At least I think it'd be great. I mean, I'd actually like to see about maybe seeing a Tim Storm would like to actually come on. I know we're gonna be working as hard as we possibly can to get some of these legends or guests to leading about a month up into the Fan Fest. See if we can get some on, or maybe we can book every week for having somebody because we want to have a big year ourselves here at the podcast. So at least, I mean, I'm trying to do. Jeremy, I'm trying to put in the work, man. It's just sometimes it's like trying to. Yeah, you push on the cart and it doesn't want to go.
Yep.
I forget to put the car in neutral before I do it. So, but we're doing all we can. But man, I'll tell you what, some great conversation. Definitely, I wanted to thank you for coming on here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I thank God. Tonight was a good one too because tomorrow's Martin Luther King Day. You guys don't have any school.
Yeah. No, I'm off.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So today was a perfect day to get you on here. So
yep,
awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. Like I said, but also stay in touch. Remember, if you're in St. Clair, like I said, ACW, and Lumberjacks can hook you up. Let me know, and we'll definitely want to get you down to see a good show that night. And in fact, GQ is going to be making his way down there, I think, as well. So,
okay.
Well, not February though. No, I won't be there.
Oh no, that's right. No, that's right. You're taking the detour because of the Beast retirement celebration. Well, all right. So I'll be there.
If you are down there, I mean, you always got to get with the best manager around. I mean, that's always me. So
go out with the bang, right? All right.
Yeah.
Jeremy, thanks a lot for joining us, and
right,
it's been a great pleasure, and we'll be chatting soon, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Take care.
All right, man. So people are wondering what happened to Z. So apparently I've been in communication with texting with Z, and apparently there's been an issue at his studio with the internet going out and can't get it back on. So if they can't get technical support this late at night, then they're going to have to wait till tomorrow for the which is a bum deal. Which
and more likely it's weather related for that too. So
yeah, probably so. It's cold as I'm not going to give a metaphor for that, but because I don't think there's a good one I can find for that. But no, but next week we do have a guest lined up. We were mentioning with ACW. ACW has a big show coming, their first show of the year, which is going to be on Saturday, January 27th, at the Melville, Missouri VFW Hall. That's and one of their stars held their tag team championships a couple times. Justin Main Event is scheduled to be with us here next week, and we'll be talking about how his story is interesting because it involves actually us GQ. Thanks to us. If it wasn't for us, there wouldn't be no.
Got a lot better when he got rid of the lime green. So.
Well, you know. Not my decision.
Good night, everybody.
Not my decision. That's how I'm leaving it at here. So, but we'll get into that more next week. But we thank everybody for tuning in to episode number 131 here of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. For the Gem City Mouth who couldn't make it for the rest of the show, and GQ, I am Rough Cut Rick Ruby. We thank you all very much for staying here with us here tonight. And we'll see you back here next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. And we will have another great show for you. So until then, have a great week. Stay warm. And we'll see you then.
Thanks again for tuning in to tonight's episode of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Don't forget our friends at the following: Keeping It Cool with Tyler Cooley, the Squared Ring podcast, and We Talk Wrestling. The Falls Count Everywhere podcast is an LTX Enterprises production.